Rub that sleep out of your eye.
Damn you, Mr. Adams!
It's time for some fresh brewed conservatism. It's time for Chad Adams on the Morning Beat.
And welcome back, folks. Big Talker FM. Chad Adams at the helm, a few feet above sea level, safely ensconced within the studios here. Away from the progressive left, communist, socialist movement, whatever you wish to call them. One person in the studio recently called them moonbats. I like that. That's pretty good. Bill Randall with us, 13th congressional candidate for the GOP, running against incumbent Brad Miller, who has one of the most gerrymandered districts in the state. Heavily minority, by the way, 24%. I just heard. So tell me, you're running against Brad Miller. He is an incumbent. He has some interesting voting record, a rather bizarre voting record, I guess I should say. How are you getting out to the voters in that district, which is spread out all over the place, getting your message out, and what is your message to the voters of that district?
The message to the voters is listen to the platform that I have, because it's right in lockstep with what is important to the people. My opponent is busy trying to get legislation passed in Congress to go against and attack so-called predatory lenders, and I know that there are predatory lenders out there.
The payday lending stuff.
Right, but we have laws on the books, and we had laws on the books already that fully address that. But yet, when you're talking about predatory lending, what about predatory legislation, where you bury things in bills that come before Congress, where people don't even read them before they sign them? And my opponent has been the author or a co-author, co-sponsor, heavily involved in the language and the legislation that has come through that the American people don't want. What I am looking to do is get my message out.
Now, on those issues, not to interrupt you, but let's go through a few of those issues right quick. Healthcare. Where was he on this healthcare legislation that's now going to force businesses to file 1099 forms for everything over $600 they buy? Small businesses, self-employed folks. Did he support the healthcare bill?
He certainly did, and there are aspects of the healthcare bill. And really, it's not a healthcare bill. It's so-called. It's really it's taking over 1/6 of the American economy.
Yes.
And there are things that are starting to emerge now that show that rationing is already in place. For example, women that have breast cancer, you're already in the crosshairs, and many other things that are just disastrous are coming out. To where really, how are they going to fund their program? They're going to do it by telling the elderly, you've lived a pretty long life, so why don't you just move out of the way and let the younger generation come in and take it. Really, it's not in those words, but
rationalizing healthcare.
Exactly.
You're going to rationalize healthcare.
That's
now,
it.
On the financial reform package, this thing that's going to federalize, it's going to have brand new oversight of our entire economy, every financial transaction. Is he in favor of that bill?
He is absolutely in favor of it. He supported it, and that financial bill is going to disclose all of your personal financial dealings, and it is going to literally give the federal government the power to deem what businesses are viable and what businesses are not viable. In other words, if they're considered to be too high a risk, the government can take them down. Excuse me, but that is not only unconstitutional, it is criminal. So it's got to be challenged.
Cap and trade, which would be a job-killing bill under the guise of environmental friendliness.
He is definitely in favor of cap and trade, and with my earth science background in the military, I think that I'll be able to approach the foundation and the fundamental principles and lies of carbon tax and carbon emissions. As they put it forth, I'll be able to disassemble that brick by brick.
So essentially, Brad Miller is a straight-up liberal. I mean, there's no apologies. There's no dancing around the issues. He is absolutely in favor of everything the Obama administration has thrown out there and more.
Well, you can sum it up this way. San Francisco, the district for Nancy Pelosi, actually has an extra congressman.
Okay.
That's Brad Miller. And North Carolina's 13th congressional district does not have one.
And so you think, how are you going to be able to show that he is completely out of step with the constituents in his district? Because when they come back here, now in Washington they vote in, Bob Etheridge votes a lot that way, Brad Miller votes that way, David Price certainly votes along with Brad Miller. I don't think you can distinguish it's going to be a very painful operation to separate the skin grafting that took place between Brad Miller and David Price. I mean, these two guys vote exactly alike. How are you going to get that message out there? I mean, These guys have a ton of money sitting in the bank. How do you get your message out?
I get my message out by your listeners and others going to the website randallforcongress.com and contributing to conservative candidates such as myself and others to actually invest in the future of America by getting people in Congress that are going to represent your interests. And even though I am not necessarily in the congressional district of your listeners, there may be a few that are, but most of them I am not going for that district. But if you can get a liberal replaced in Congress with a conservative, that is going to bode well for America. So we need to get our message out. I have to defer to language that my good friend Ed Rapp has said. If you have your opponent outspend you 3-1, well, we can live with that. But if you're outspent 10-1 or more, that's unacceptable.
Right, and Ed Rapp is a local activist, Brunswick County, who's actually in the studio with us today. And Ed, I've known for several years down there, and does a great job. Actually has a lot of background and understands the entertainment industry, and having been in the business world and now working with your campaign, and looking forward to seeing him there. By the way, the website, very robust, randallforcongress.com, randallforcongress.com. If you want to see where Bill stands, he's laid out, he is very clear on where he stands on the issues, his endorsements, the events, news. It has a wealth of information that you have put out there for folks. Former Navy guy. Thank you for serving there. Now, looking forward, what are the things that you think? You mentioned the economy and jobs, clearly number one. What are, if you were to put the 3 top issues that you think are going to resonate with voters this fall? Economy, jobs, number one. What are some of the other 2 issues? And far and away, probably economy, jobs.
Well, definitely economy and jobs, but the second and third really go hand in hand. The second one is reducing the size of government. The burgeoning bill, the expanding government. Government really takes care of itself. Since President Obama has been in office, the number of 6-figure salaried federal workers has more than doubled. And the average federal employee earns more than twice the average American worker. The average American worker hovers around $36,000. The average federal employee surpasses about $72,000.
Wow.
And there's something wrong with that picture. So really what you're talking about is reducing the size of government. There are bureaucracies, there are government redundancies, there are things that are wasteful, inefficient. We need to cut all of that out because the American people is footing the American people are footing the bill for that. And then along with that, the health care bill that was rammed down our throats. Someone said, they could have stopped the leak in the Deepwater Horizon a long time ago by jamming that health care bill into that hole like they did the throat of the American people. It would have been stopped a long time ago. But seriously, you have the health care bill. We need to, at the very least, defund it, but really make a strong move to repeal that bill. So really those are the top 3: economy and jobs, reducing the size of government, and getting rid of that abomination, pun intended, of a bill.
Okay, 2 final comments here, questions kind of. With respect to that, how do you feel about the deficit stuff that's going on? The debt that we are accumulating under the Obama administration is nothing short of staggering. And number 2, any final comments you'd like to make to our listeners? Okay,
the deficits are unsustainable. I think the government needs to be a reflection of what we have to have as discipline as individuals, and that is, if you can't afford it, don't commit to it. And final words I would say is I would ask your people again, your well wishes are appreciated. Your prayers are definitely coveted, and we want you to pray for us every day. But we cannot do this without financial support. So please, while you're thinking about it, go ahead and go to the website. You can do a secure, safe online transaction and help underwrite our efforts to get the correct representation in Washington, D.C. You will not be ashamed of this elected official going to Washington, D.C. And I guess finally, imagine when Bill Randall is in Congress, how much time the constituents will save by so many times throughout the year they will not have to stop what they're doing to call Washington, D.C. and say, hey, let's make sure Bill votes the right way.
Okay. Again, Bill Randall running in the 13th Congressional District against Brad Miller. RandallForCongress.com to find out more information. I'd like to thank you for being a part of the show this morning.